Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Rudabeh Shabazi.
And I am Aaron Nolan. Our top story tonight. Today marks exactly 1 year since a U.S. drone strike killed senior Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani.
Iranians took to the streets yesterday chanting anti-American and anti-Israel slogans. It's part of a multi-day commemoration plan to mark 1 year since Soleimani's death. The majority of protests today unfolded in Iraq. That's where the drone strike killed Soleimani and an Iraqi militia commander. Tens of thousands marched to Baghdad's Central Square after a call from a number of local militia groups, many of which are backed and trained by Iran. Soleimani was the leader of an elite overseas unit of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. The Trump administration accused him of masterminding attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East, but his assassination has only exacerbated existing tensions between the U.S. and Iran and other Middle Eastern nations in the year since. Most recently, the U.S. flew 2 nuclear-capable B-52 bombers to the Middle East and sent a nuclear submarine to the Persian Gulf in a show of force against Iran. The Iranian regime saying it will not be intimidated. Iran's foreign minister even hinting that Israel may provoke the U.S. into a military conflict by attacking American troops in Iraq, a claim Israeli officials have since dismissed as nonsense. Today's 1-year commemoration also coincides with an announcement from Iran yesterday that it is ramping up its uranium enrichment program from current levels around 4.5% to 20%. The 2015 nuclear agreement imposed a cap of 3.67%, but the Trump administration withdrew the U.S. from that deal in 2018. Experts say Iran has enough low-enriched uranium stockpiled for at least 2 nuclear weapons if it should choose to pursue them. Joining us tonight to discuss the diplomatic relationship between the U.S. and Iran in the final weeks of the Trump presidency is J.J. Green, national security correspondent for WTOP Radio in Washington, D.C. J.J., thank you for joining us, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so over the past year, we've seen the assassination of Soleimani in Iraq, the assassination of a top Iranian nuclear scientist on Iranian soil, and most recently, the Pentagon has flown bombers over the region and sent in that guided missile submarine in a show of force. So what does the administration expect Iran's response to be?
Well, Iran is upset. They're still upset because Qasem Soleimani was essentially the dean of all of their military planning and their objectives that essentially were designed to put Iran where Iran wanted to be on the world stage. And that is a feared actor that nobody messes with. In order for them to essentially get over that, they have to figure out a way to get revenge for the death of Soleimani. So Iran is very upset about it because they haven't been able to do that. The Trump administration has made sure that Iran essentially has sort of been on its heels since the death of Soleimani. So right now, what's happening is they're looking for ways, they're looking for vulnerabilities, locations, targets, people that they can sort of essentially point to that they can essentially launch some type of attack or some type of retributional act to essentially show that Iran has gotten revenge for the death of Soleimani.
And then days ago, the Pentagon abruptly sent that aircraft carrier in the region home, back to the U.S. So what are Iran and other countries in the region supposed to take from these mixed messages coming from the United States?
Well, first of all, it's important to note that the United States and Iran have been in a confrontational posture since 1979, since the Iranian Revolution. We should remember that it was 1983 that 241 Marines were killed in a barracks bombing in Beirut. Iran was believed to be behind that. They've also been involved in, complicit in several terrorist attacks throughout the years where Americans have been victims and American assets have been targeted. So this situation with the Americans' aircraft carrier and other assets being in the region sends a strong message to Iran that we are not going to allow this to get out of hand, because this situation, this up and down, this ebb and flow between the U.S. has continued since that era back in the late 1970s and 80s, and right up until the Stuxnet situation a few years ago where the U.S. used cyber weapons against Iran. So Iran knows that the U.S. has multiple types of weapons, multiple approaches that it can use to marginalize or neutralize any kind of attack that Iran wants to take. So moving this aircraft carrier out of the region doesn't suggest the U.S. is going to attack kinetically, but that doesn't say the U.S. won't attack another way. The U.S. has some very strong, prolific, and at-the-ready cyber weapons and other assets that they won't talk about that they can use to strike Iran at a moment's notice.
And President Trump has been overt with his threats to attack Iran. He's ordered the assassination of at least one high-ranking Iranian. These efforts have strengthened the hardliners' position in Iran, that America is not to be trusted, that it's in the country's best interest to continue to enrich uranium. But now with an incoming Biden administration with many of the same players who negotiated that 2015 nuclear agreement, do you think the reformers in Iran will be able to bring Iran back into the nuclear agreement?
It's not clear if they'll be able to do that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have the opportunity to do that. The Biden administration recognizes that Iran can't wait for January 20th to come, because that is the day of the inauguration. That is the day they can breathe a sigh of relief that Donald Trump will be gone from the commander-in-chief position in the United States. But there are 15, 16 days until then, and they still have to be concerned about what could happen between now and then. So they just are looking for and hoping for the opportunity to get to that point without anything catastrophic happening to them. Whether or not that happens, we're not sure. The Biden administration does not want to step into this conflict with Iran right off the bat or at any point. What they've been trying to do is look for ways to neutralize the situation and minimize the conflict and the tension. The nuclear agreement that was essentially landed upon during the Obama administration is something they're still interested in. They may go back to that, they may do it differently, but let's just say this. They don't want conflict with Iran right now, and Iran doesn't want conflict with the U.S. either.
All right, good note to end on. Thank you, JJ, for joining us. We appreciate having you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.